All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 34 this week. We are joined with some new faces here. We got some new faces. We got some replacey faces. We got some hot take special guests here. We got everybody. So I'm Blue Squadron, joined as always by Jay Kuhn. Jay Kuhn, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jake in VT. I'm an Awakening Wusu main, and I do a lot of endgame PvE content, such as Olin's, the dungeons, and I'm always happy to answer questions about the game for new players. You can find me over at twitch.tv/JakeVT, and welcome over to the Elden podcast, episode 34.
Right on. Yes. Mm-hmm. And now we have Tiltus has sadly departed us, and now we have Blonde Bear joining us on the podcast every week now. So a new co-host with us. Blonde Bear, why don't you go ahead and give us a shout out here?
Hello. Hi, it's me, Blonde Bear. I play BDO and I like to grind, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me. I like to party. Literally, let's party.
You sounded like a party animal right there. The nice monotone really sold it. The monotone really sold it. Parties. Right. And we also have a special guest today on the podcast, and our special guest over here is typically a YouTuber, but has started on Twitch relatively recently and done very well. Verdict, a rising star in our video content creator program. So, Verdict, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Hot Take Connoisseur is my name. Mystic Daddy is the game.
Okay. Well, you're not a mystic. Well, you're an Awakening Magu now, though.
Listen. Okay,
you forsook her.
Okay, there's
Traitor.
2 words in my chat that is banned, and that is female ook. It's a sentence. I don't like it anymore. I don't like it anymore. I just feel like it's. Listen, man, I went Awakening Mail because I love it, okay? It's fine to re-roll. If you love it, if you enjoy it, it's fine. But I won't lie to you, I still get every single day at least like a dozen of Mystic questions. It's like still the same thing. So, hey, I guess I'm still it. I hope, at least, I hope. But it's fine.
That's all right. You still an expert voice on Mystic. Do you like Awakening Mystic, yeah? Do you ever play Succession?
I am a Succession Mystic. I'm actually a Succession Mystic. It's just I played Awakening in PV just because it was the better part. Just the better counterpart class. It's just no contest anywhere. It's just simply how it is. Yeah. So you had to. But yeah, I'm an all-rounder. I played everything. The biggest suck guide and PV guide on Mystic is on my channel still. So yeah, we kind of do that as well.
Okay, right on. Good stuff. Well, we are all here today to talk about a very hot topic in the community, which Verdict put out a video about. You guys should go check it out on his YouTube. It's actually great. I reacted to it yesterday. I know Choice has done a react to it as well, so it's kind of all the buzz right now. And it's should we fire executive producer Jae-hee Kim? Now, I've said multiple times that Jay is the CEO of Perlibus. He's not technically the CEO. He's the executive producer, which he's the guy that we blame everything on. He's like the go-to finger man for everything. So effectively for the player base, he's the one in charge. So that's why I always called him the CEO. He's technically the executive producer. That being said, Verdict came out with a video and you said he should step down. You kind of like backed off a little bit in the video. You were like, oh, he should be fired. Then you're like, no, he should step down. But that's basically the same thing. So Verdict, are you still on that same page?
Never back down, not for a single time. I never said for a single bit that he should get fired. I was very like conscious when I said that I believe that he should step down. I don't believe that he's the right person to lead.
That's the same thing.
No, it's not, because he could still do customer service, you know? It's like, I don't...
No, he's done. They should ask him to resign, right? Like they should ask him to leave.
No. Real note. I'm pretty sure that Jay has incredible value in terms of everything that he's done. He tends to push many of the things that we as players request, and he tends to go back a little bit and forth on them. We still get them, so I still don't believe that there is a lot to do on Jay's really future. In my opinion, it's just that it's overwhelmingly negative, at least in my end. But you know, I don't think he's the right choice, and I kind of need to stand by that, right?
Okay, so why don't you think he's the right choice for executive producer?
Well, Well, the first thing is in that video, the main topic was really the stubbornness behind what we want and what they refuse to deliver. And a good example is damage numbers. If you really think about it, we can probably discuss that in big detail. I'm well aware of why they're not delivering it, why it can't be, etc., this and that. And there is so much confusion stemming from really the guesswork of the community. If you really think about it, a lot of his replies change on different topics throughout different discussions with time, and it's never one thing. It's never like a concrete no. It's a concrete no, then a maybe, and then we get it. And it's like this delayed types of we'll nag about it, we'll nag about it, we'll nag about it, because we know that we want it, and they're right to give it to us, but they didn't want, etc., this and that.
Okay, all right. So I'm curious who else has this sentiment, because I know I've had some comments on my videos. They're like, he needs to be fired, he needs to step down, etc. So this is not like, this seems like a hot take, probably because it's coming from a partner. But like, honestly, I feel like this sentiment is kind of shared in a lot of the community right now. So I'm curious, Blonde Bear, how do you feel about how Jay's doing as an executive producer?
I think that there's not a lot of clarity exactly in the way that PA structure system is right now. Obviously it seems like the way it's discussed that every decision about every aspect of the game has to go through Jay. Jay's like the front man. He's the guy in all these Jay talks. He's the guy, the Jay letter, the Jay hammer, this and that. But I think that this is more of like a system that's parallel to Lost Ark, where they had their Gold River. Their Gold River revived their game when it was doing poorly, and he's the face of who's bringing it back, so they have a center-focused person to kind of talk to or ask for or make changes or whatnot. I think that's kind of the parallel I would see it as. I don't know necessarily if like that's exactly how their entire structure for their entire company works.
Well,
it would be cool if we could have more clarity on that. But
yeah, let's assume for the sake of argument that he is like the thorough guy, like that, like he's supposed to be the one that the community goes to, and he's supposed to be listening to the community and relaying this stuff to the developers in a meaningful way that gets things changed. That being said, Blonde Bear, do you feel he's doing a good enough job if that is the case?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Jay at all, to be honest.
Okay, so you think he's doing a fine job. Well, I mean, to be clear, you're primarily a PvE player, right?
Everything could always be better, but, you know, I mean, I could have criticisms here and there, but, like, do I think he should step down? If that's the question, I don't think so.
Okay, so you're okay with the current direction of the game. I mean, you're primarily a PvE player, right? Do you life skill very often either? Or how much PvP do you do?
I do AFK, horse training, fishing, stuff like that. Nothing really major. I do farming. Farming's like the one thing I really like, but...
Okay. All right, right on. And Jay, you're the PvE Lord, man, and you've been the PvE Lord on the podcast for a long time. What do you think about Jay potentially?
Now there's another. Oh no.
Jay Koo. Now there's another. There is another.
There's someone after my spot.
One of you is Luke. The other one has to play a woman. Jay, that's all you can do. Jay, how do you feel about Jae-hee Kim potentially stepping down? Do you think he's doing a good enough job relaying our concerns?
You know, like, I don't know how the process and, you know, development cycle for BDO works, and I don't honestly think any player knows fully 100%. So definitely the suggestion to have the executive producer step down due to, you know, these things, definitely a big suggestion. I think he's doing an okay job. Like, I'm happy with the current state of BDO. I honestly think BDO is in the best state it's ever been since I started playing 5 years ago. I think when it comes to MMOs in history, even like the big ones like WoW and Final Fantasy, they're not always perfect, you know, like they've had some decisions made from higher ups that players don't agree with, and I think it's just maybe this is one of those times for BDO. There will always be opinions on how the game should be run by both players and developers, you know, and whether those decisions ruin the game for you or make you leave the game, I still think it's not probably enough for something that the executive producer has to step down for. So
okay,
that's
all right. I think that honestly I lean a little bit. So when I watched this video, I was very much like, whoa, Fire G, this is obnoxious. This is a crazy thought. And then I've kind of slept on it the last 24 hours. And the more I think about it, I think the biggest problem that we have had, and we have basically always had with Black Desert, is the fact that unless Korea complains about it or wants it, it feels like they don't hear anything.
Yes.
Like, I think the biggest problem is that, like, Korea, unless Korea complains about it, like sometimes we get stuff because, like, oh yeah, NA has been complaining about this forever. We finally got this change. But, like, I feel like that's less so because NA has been complaining about it, and more so because Korea finally complained about it for the first time. Like, so, like, and Jay's been around a long time. I feel like that they are, I don't know, I think the biggest, like, anti-Pearl Abyss sentiment that goes through the community right now is that North America and Europe fund their company. That's the bottom line. And when you're running a company, you should be listening to the money, where the money is coming from. And in North America and Europe, that's where the majority of the money is coming from. And I do feel that they should give us a little bit more say and, like, listen to us a little bit more, even though it's a Korean company. Our NA and EU CMGM teams, I know they relay like crazy amounts of information. They're always listening to our community. They're always pushing that information through to the developers, but I feel like it's just falling on deaf ears. Like Verdict, like, I know you kind of agree with that. You want to expand on it?
Dude, I literally, I'm ready for the first hot take. Are you ready for it, though?
Mm-hmm.
All right, hear me out. Hear me out. If we are going to have a conversation about really listening to the money, and that it's fair. It's fair to tilt towards where is the biggest voice? Where are the issues? But let's be honest about it. When the current issue with the Asia Championship happened, for a little bit of, let's be honest, it was a stressful time. It was really horrible to witness.
Stressful for Pearl Abyss. We loved it.
It was stressful for sure. Like, let's be honest. But let me tell you something. Last Node War, I was stuck in a barricade for 7 seconds. I couldn't exit it.
I'm sure it's just your ISP.
And then it's like, I don't give a crap what it was. It happened. And then it was, let's give an apology to the Asian community, or like Korea got their own apology and stuff. And I made a funny skit where essentially Jay was calling me, and I was like, well, this is almost a regular occurrence on NA and EU on these, big node wars with a lot of guilds on there. It kind of really loads up the server. And you kind of feel a little bit of preferential treatment going towards Korea. It could stem from, I don't know, something like just the language barrier. We can't communicate that properly. Things get lost along, translations, this and that. And with all honesty, I don't think it should be like this. I don't want to be preferentially treated. Let's be honest, Korea and NA and EU, we play the game kind of differently, all three regions. We have differences in the way we pick our classes, all of these things. But we should be at least listened to and heard to, because there are people still till this game experiencing stutters within the game on the top tier parts for PCs, optimized top to bottom. You don't hear anything about that. And that's, in my opinion, the biggest issue with Black Desert to begin with. Before we even talk about balance, before we talk about anything else, let's get the game to run well and run smooth. Probably people in chat are experiencing stutters right now. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. It feels like there's favoritism for sure over Korea.
Blonde Bear, how do you feel about potential favoritism here? I know, like, obviously they lean more towards Korea. Do you feel like they're listening to the other servers equally?
It's a complex conversation, I think, because I wrote a bunch of notes when I watched I had to watch Verdict's video twice because I watched it to just absorb it, and then I watched it and made notes on all the different points. When it comes to talking about a discussion about, like, what this is what game? It's a Korean MMO, so primarily it's going to be a Korean audience feedback sort of loop between the Korean developers. It's based in Korea, the company's based in Korea, stuff like that. I think it's complex to, when you said, like, they should follow the money is where the feedback should be listened to. On one hand, I can agree that, like, if we're primarily funding their game, then our feedback should be more, but that also kind of feels like we're just kind of buying it. Like, I'm not the one putting that money in, and I don't know if it's any of the other people that play the game 24/7 that are putting that in. It's a handful of whales out in the community that happen to be on the NA servers. I'm not saying that our feedback isn't worthy, or that it's not good enough, or that we maybe not agree on anything. It is just weird that KR does kind of take a while or doesn't really listen to feedback given unless it's shown on Korea, like they did with the War of the Roses and stuff like that when they had their issues. I don't know if listening to the money is 100% the perfect solution, because then we can just kind of buy out our own way, and in some ways that could be leading to a quicker death of the game depending on what part of feedback you're listening to. It's really kind of a complex issue. I think that, yes, obviously it does feel like our feedback isn't getting listened to blatantly on the lag stuff, that Korea finally experienced what we've always been experiencing, and they're like, oh guys, this is a problem, we need to fix this, we're so sorry. And so I think that them finally addressing it is like, okay, hey, like, we actually have a problem. It's like, we've been telling you this the whole time, why haven't you been listening? That does feel bad. I agree with that.
Right, and I think that's a big part of the reason, is that, like, when Korea complained about lag, suddenly, oh, now it's a priority issue for this company. But like NA, and that's gotta feel bad for the NA, especially the NA players, but also the EU players that struggle with it. And particularly, I know the Asia server struggles with lag almost as much as NA does, if not more so sometimes. So like, that's gotta feel really bad for the rest of the player base to be like, oh my god, we've been telling you this forever and you're not listening to us. So yeah, no, I agree. And like, that's probably just a culmination, you know, it's just the icing on the cake because it's the most recent incident. But like, yeah, that's what most of the player base is kind of looking to right now. J-Kun, how do you feel about this? Do you feel that like they're listening to our feedback appropriately, or do you feel like that like maybe NA is just not listened to as much as it should be?
You know, I do agree that there are some like really big core issues with the game. Mainly, you know, I think most people could agree that the lag is something, and lag and desync is something that should be fixed. And it has been fixed. And we've been asking for a long time, and like central servers and whatnot. I do think like for some other things, when it comes to, you know, whatever, when player base is asking for like, I don't know, like class balances and stuff like that, or whatever it is, like the feedback, right? I'm just like thinking, when like if we do meet all those demands and requests of the player base, for those things, will that make the game a better game? I don't know. I don't think any player honestly 100% knows where it's gonna go, like what direction we're gonna take. I just know that I'm having fun with the game right now until maybe a new MMO comes along for me to play, and then the cycle continues, and then I die. Just kidding. VTubers can't die. We live forever. Join us.
Jesus Christ.
God dang.
Oh my god, bro. Okay, so yeah, I mean, like, it's got to be crazy. I mean, like, when you're a Korean,
takes hot.
I mean, when you're a Korean company, you develop it in Korea, it drops in Korea for 2 years, and then the West gets your game, and the West plays your game more, and the West has like is spending way more money on your game. Keep in mind, the West is like basically everywhere else in the world. When you talk about Korea and then other like NA and EU are considered the West in this case, but like so in Asia, I suppose. So like the West kind of plays their game a lot more, and so it's probably kind of a hard adjustment. Lost Ark kind of goes through the exact same thing, and so I know that must be kind of a hard adjustment. I'm curious, Jay, this was a topic that you kind of wanted to talk about a little bit, so I'll segue into it as we kind of circle back around on this. But like, what would do you guys like the Calpheon ball? So well, first of all, we all love the Calpheon ball because Jay just stands up there and lies to us about what we're going to get for the next 6 months. But like, I feel like he's been better about not lying to us. But there are some stuff like centralized servers that they were like, oh yeah, we're going to have centralized servers, and then we never heard about it again for 365 days. And that's miserable. But like, I know we all love the Calpheon ball. Do we like that kind of platform, or is there a different way that we feel like, if we want to be listened to, if NA, EU, and Asia really want to be listened to a lot more, how would you guys think that they should go about that? Like, should there be more balls, or should it be more like a forum thing where, like, you know, Jay gets on and there's like a dev talk where like they're just talking specifically to us with a translator or something? Or do you think that, like, is there a better way to kind of do this? Verdict? Like, what would you have changed so that you feel like you're listened to?
So you got to approach from this understanding that in order for us to have a dev talk, we need to have a translator. In order for us to have a translator, we need to kind of put ourselves into this little bit of a position of moderated talk and being loud and outspoken as NA and EU, especially NA and EU, just like we're kind of, if there's any negativity stemming out of somewhere, it's probably the majority of us. And to be completely fair, a lot of these dev talks, all of them are so moderated to the point where remember when I think there was some sort of an announcement of the future content and everybody was like, who asked for this? Remember this moment? The same thing happens with questions being asked towards Jay and him answering them. The majority of us is like some trivial stuff that shouldn't even make up there. Like, none of the room should be occupied with these people asking these particular questions. A dev talk is supposed to be something important, something big, something where reassure us that we're headed in the right direction. If there's somebody in chat that feels the way I do, for example, it's a little bit of I need this dev talk so that I can be assured, or rather reassured, that we're headed to the right direction. A ball is so moderated and disingenuous to the point where it's literally there for them to flex on the future content. Probably 20% of that we will not ever see ever, because it's a trend. It has happened before. Probably another 40% of that will be pushed into Korea for 3 months for testing. It will probably not work that well. It's going to be pushed to NA and EU, and then it's going to be another 4 months of literally recalibrating the content before it becomes completely fucking playable. Sorry for the F-bomb. Apologies. And the last thing is, like, how do you keep in touch with people that don't want to have in-touch conversations? So it's like, what do? There's no right suggestion for this.
Well, yeah, I would agree that the ball is generally used as like it's not really a feedback thing. There is kind of a feedback segment, but they have questions that are just like but they're like softballs. Honestly, it's not even softball. It's T-ball for Jay. It's just the ball is just sitting on the tee and he just knocks it out of the park every time. But like the ball is generally just their way of showing us the new content, like what they've been working on. And I love the ball because we get to see what's coming next. So like, I don't mind it because it's kind of like their BlizzCon. Blizzard does like BlizzCon and really the BlizzCon is mainly about, hey, what's the next content that Blizzard is working on for all of its games, right? But there is an aspect of BlizzCon where they have feedback and they kind of go through questions and they answer questions. It's very similar to that. They have to have modeled it after BlizzCon, and it works really well. But it's not the I guess Verdict's right. It's not the best way to kind of give feedback. Blonde Bear, how do you feel about, like, how do you think that they should do feedback? Do you think something behind the scenes needs to be changed, like with the CMGM team, like how they're listening to that, or would you rather have direct player feedback like via like a forum or a discussion?
I'm starting to feel like Jay because I feel like every answer I'm going to say, well, it's kind of complex.
Stop it, Blonde! Stop it!
Kind of feels weird. I like the balls. I like High Double and I like Calpheon Ball. It's like the Oscars every 6 months for BDO. It's feels like a celebrity event. It feels like we're going to get like a kind of a roadmap. I think once the expectations have been like, hey, we're going to announce a bunch of random stuff. Maybe half of it, some of it will go through. We'll see, but it's a hype fest. The whole point is it's a hype fest. I think those are 100% generated correctly. I think that's exactly what its aim is, and that's what it's for, and it gets the players just hyped at that 6 month period of the year. I think that the J Talks are really important because it shows that although it is moderated, and I think it will always have to be because, it has to be all professionally done and everything's appropriate, and we can't sit there listening to a bunch of like major negative complaints or anything that's like too vulgar or whatnot. I understand they have to remain professional when they're going about actual changes in the game, so they're going to cherry pick certain things, but like they do want to let you know that they are trying to listen to the community. I mean, I watched that J Talk all the way through, and they went through each individual forum and were talking about each of these issues, and like, I do agree. I think some of the issues are complex to fix. I don't think it's that simple. I think that because they made their own engine to make this game, it's not as simple as like, okay, I want new thing in the game. Let me just add this new system. I think there's so many problems, and it kind of rings back to that Morlin video where we take so many of these base problems and we build upon it and we build upon it and we build upon it, and then the base thing isn't fixed or changed. We just band-aid fix, and it's really complex when we're trying to I guess, sort of fix this game, and they've said that many times over. It's just we can't literally see it for our eyes, and I think that just creates a lot of disbelief in the players. So I do wish they did a J Talk where they did pay attention to a lot of our forums, maybe one of each region or something similar. But it's tough to do that because we do have a lot of, I don't know if you guys have seen our forums. There's a lot
hot
of
takes.
people that are not connected to this game and are very delusional about the reality of this game, and it's really hard to say what is real feedback versus what is fake feedback versus good feedback. And
well, I think that
it's tough.
Well, I think that's honestly, you kind of hit the nail on the head here. I think that, well, honestly, I'll wait. Look, Jake, how do you feel about this? How do you think that they should handle player feedback from the other regions? Like, if you could fix it so that you felt that they were listening to you, how would you do that?
So I did notice that whenever they do like these dev talks, it's in Korean, and then we have like a translated version, and I kind of feel like maybe that causes that sort of that like not connection with players, because it is we get like the majority of the players who are English speakers, we get the translated version, and it doesn't feel like we're connecting with them. And so maybe they should have another, like a separate dev talk where there's an English spokesperson relaying those messages and able to communicate with us with more clarity, and maybe that will help with that disconnect that players are feeling, you know.
Yeah. Who was that community manager that did this? There was one dude that was translating for them once on the Idle Ball in Los Angeles, or was it?
They have a lot of CMGMs that could, well, there's at least 2 translators that are specifically there to make sure that they can speak Korean and English. But honestly, from the player basis standpoint, we call that Hugh Hopper. He is our translator.
Blessed be thy chicken.
Yeah, like, we love Hugh, but like, realistically speaking, I think that all of this said, all of you kind of touched around it, but right now, our current feedback loop, you're not wrong. If they tried to do a dev like talk, right? It's all in Korean. They'd have to have a translator. It's just not going to work, right? They'd have to be translating English. They'd have to be translating Russian. You know, they'd have to be translating Thai. You know, they've got like German, like all kinds of different languages that they'd have to translate. That's just not going to work. So if you look at the way they have it currently set up right now, if the CMGM team always says the same thing every time, the developers only listen to the forums. They only listen to the forums. Unless it was said on the forums, they are not going to listen to you. They don't care, which I think is a fundamental issue. To be clear, let's get out of the Stone Ages on this, okay? Like, people use all kinds of different ways to communicate, whether it be, I know this is going to sound crazy, but like Reddit or Twitter or YouTube, if there's like they need to look at like some of these videos, wow, that video has like thousands of likes. You know what I mean? And he's got maybe a hot take that the developers haven't liked very much, but like they should listen to that. Or if there's an upvote on Reddit and there's like 7,000 upvotes on it on Reddit, that would be a little crazy for our Reddit. But like, if there's like 1,000 upvotes on Reddit, the developers should take a look at that and be like, okay, yeah, let's address this. Right? As of right now, they legitimately will not address something. They'll pretend it's a completely non-factor unless it was A, posted on the forums, and B, got at least 250 upvotes. And I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I don't check the forums regularly. And if I don't check it regularly, no one does. Right? So
are you saying that Jay will not see my video? That's a bummer.
Yeah, no,
that's a hell of a bummer.
That's kind of a super bummer.
Yeah, man.
Like,
damn.
Well, I think the biggest problem is that like no one looks at the forums. So like, because no one looks at the forums, and to be clear, how the hell am I supposed to make the forums part of my regular like routine? Right? Like, so far out of the way, I have to go log in with my 2-factor and stuff just to upvote stuff, and sometimes there's nothing there and it's kind of lame. Like Blonde Bear said, the current state of our forums it's like hot take central, with all these like losers posting about, oh, I can't, you know, I want to get my outfit is unplayable because my hair is clipped into the back of my outfit. And in fairness, that is a problem for my Orzeka outfit on Witch. But it's not like a critical issue that people are going to get upvoted, right? Shut up, Jay.
Can I jump in really quick? It's super important.
Go ahead, yeah.
So remember when they asked publicly for everybody's feedback on the forums thing was like a year ago or something? Remember that? Or like a year and a half? And people swarmed the forums, right? And everybody was giving feedback. I gave my Mystic feedback, and we're talking, when I give my Mystic feedback, it really should be up there. No matter what happened, I got bombed to oblivion because of my feedback. It was insane. You couldn't, no matter how relevant you are, unless you appeal to the masses of the forums, you will not get up there. And what you said about the forums, it's a cesspool, baby. It's, whoo, man. You say one thing about Drac getting anything positive, you get bombed. It just, you can't do it. The forums are great.
It's just an echo chamber of the same people every time. It's not a representation of the community. It's a representation of the degenerates that check the forums every day. And like, that's just not how the community works. If you're going to listen to the BDO community, if you're going to listen to an MMO community, you don't look at the forums. Yeah, sure, the forums should be on your list of things to look at, obviously. But like, that shouldn't be the only thing that you're looking at. You're looking at Reddit. You're looking at YouTube. You're looking at Twitter. You're looking at Discords is a big one, right? Like if a post goes out in Discord and it gets a certain amount of like feedback on it, the developers should see that, right? And they should consider it as feedback, and they should address it so that we know that that they have heard us, all right? Like, I think a big part of this is that like maybe they are hearing stuff, but they're not telling us, yeah, we heard it. We just don't want to listen to you. Like that's what we want to hear. If you don't want to listen to us, believe it or not, I do want to know. At least they heard it, right? Because right now, I think they are hearing it. I think they just don't give a shit, right? Which is bad. I'm not sure which is worse, to be honest with you.
How do you know, though, right?
Yeah, well, because I know the CMGM team is probably not just hearing all this feedback and then just not doing their job. Right,
my
like,
video is
the
flying
CMGM team, like their job. I mean, do you feel like they're getting like a verdict? Do you feel like the feedback's not getting through?
Considering the fact that I've made so many videos and then Pearl Abyss literally acts almost as if point to point on my feedback in these videos, I need to say that I find it hard for that to be coincidence. For example, my Dekia video, you reacted to that. Pearl Abyss literally addressed the issues from that video point to point, as I have said. And it kind of puts a smile on your face, but then it's like, is it because of the feedback that I give? Is it like common knowledge? Do they listen to me as a partner? Is it something like, does it get to, you just never know. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you on this one for sure.
Like, do we like I'm curious, Blonde, do you agree with my sentiment on this? Like, do you think that like the forums are the only thing that they should listen to? Should we all be just going to the forums, or do you think that there's like, do you think they should just listen to like look at Twitter, look at Reddit, look at Discords? You know,
it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's really hard to sort of vet the like verification of feedback. Like, what is actually good feedback? What is feedback from someone who's delusional or playing a very different game than us? If they were to say or motivate or figure out a way for getting the entire community to consolidate all of our feedback into a singular area, like, then I could say something. But the problem is that if all of our feedback's just going to go to the forums, they're going to read it and they're going to be like, okay, like whatever, and then they're not going to do any of the changes. Like people don't want to type a giant essay about their passion about the game if there's not going to actually be a change. There's no motivation. If I make the feedback or not, and the game's going to stay the same regardless of if they see my feedback or not, then what's the point of putting it out? I think that, you know, a lot of people on streams, a lot of YouTube, a lot of Twitter, yeah, people are constantly, especially Reddit, are constantly providing different feedback and different stuff, but that stuff changes literally on a day-to-day. I mean, they would literally need like a 5-man team looking at all different forms of social media just to keep track of every single day-to-day instance of BDO feedback, which I think is tough. It's not that it's not undoable, but I just, you know, I don't think they are doing that. And yeah, it definitely sucks. It really kind of doesn't feel good to play a game that you really like and you're really passionate about it, so you want to give feedback, and you know, it's not going to ever get heard or even listened to at all. It's kind of complex.
Okay. Jakun, how do you feel about like maybe expanding outside of the forums, or do you think that we just like the forums is the way we need to go? Everything goes into the forums, because technically on paper that system could work if everyone was checking the forums all the time. But I don't know. I feel like over the years, like we say it until we're blue in the face. Nobody's going to go to the forums every day. I still don't go to the forums every day. How do you feel about this?
Well, I remember in the past, they had like this like round table. Does anyone remember where they had like the winners of?
Yep.
I think it was like the
Archer tournament.
Tournament. I think it was the Archer tournament. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They had this round table, and then those people were able to communicate with the developers with whatever they wanted for their classes, I guess. And it seemed like to sort of ban the community. I think Alec was on it. Remember when we had Alec on Blue? Where all the shies gave Alec, the feedback, and then he relayed that to them. Maybe we should have something similar to that for other content in the game, not just.
But did anything get done from that?
I mean, from what I heard, there was a lot of fundamental changes to certain things, but I don't know how much I can say.
I don't like.
How much
Alec,
of that can you
Alec
actually pass though?
Well, Alec came onto the podcast and he said he put it together this big thing, right? And then he also followed that up with they didn't hear any of it, right? Like none of it got changed. Like at least that's what I remember him saying. So like I think the biggest problem is when we do use the forums. I'm going to use an example that I didn't like so much, but you know what? It proves the point. For example, there was there are two examples that I'm going to bring forward. The first is Choice's post about Red Battlefield. Had the highest forum upvotes ever of anything. It had like 4,000 upvotes or some crazy obnoxious thing, right? He had this very well thought out, very well constructed way to redesign Red Battlefield and the rewards for Red Battlefield so that it would be engaging so that people could do it every day to help revitalize it. And the community loved that feedback. Now, to be clear, he is a content creator, so he can push his own post, right? So like there's a certain amount of that like, all right, yeah, like the people that love Choice are just going to upvote it because they love Choice. But also, we look over at another one. Okay, you set this aside. Johnny 5, who is not nearly as big of a content creator, he's relatively new to the scene. He has like 100 or so average viewers, right? But like he made a forum post about the guild declaration changes that was on the forums, and that got like the second highest upvotes at almost 2,500 upvotes. Okay, now he does control the node war hubs, and like to be clear, that was probably all the PvPers all banding together to upvote it. But that also shows how dedicated the PvPers were to try not to get that to come through. And I felt like Choice's post, they didn't even talk about it. They like replied to the forum post, it's under consideration. And then the developers never even batted an eyelash at it. Why in the world would we feel that the forums are a good way to get the feedback to the developers when a forum post that is upvoted over 3,000 times doesn't even meet their eyes?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't think the players are motivated to do those things. If their changes would be addressed, or maybe they said, hey guys, we saw this huge post and we just want to let you know, we don't think it's even if they said something like, this isn't the vision of BDO we see, but we do hear your feedback and we'll work hard on making the next change. If that was even like something that was addressed, I think it would be like, okay, so they did read it, they do see it, they don't agree with it, that's okay, but at least they read it. I think that the fact that we don't get any of that means that there's no motivation to do it, because I don't even know if you even saw it. I took, I don't know if you read it. I don't know if you did anything with it. There's no motivation, right? I literally did. It's them as the...
Right. Yeah. But yeah, like my point is like, yeah, so you take Johnny 5's post aside, maybe it was only the PvPers that upvoted it and the developers said, no, we're going forward with the change anyway. They strong armed us, but at least they did, like, I don't know if they necessarily addressed the forum post per se, but they did kind of talk about it in the dev talk. They said, no, it's staying. Deal with it. But like you look over at Choice's post and they didn't even give it a time of day. I mean, man, he must have spent like 5 or 10 hours putting that together. And again, it was like the top upvoted forum post. There was a lot of work put into that. Nothing. We got nothing out of that. So like, it does not convince me that the forums are actually a good way to get feedback to the developers, because one of two things is happening. Either one, they legitimately are just don't care about what we have to say, which I hope is not it. Or two, there's 3 things. 2, the CMGM team just didn't read it and didn't relay it, which is unlikely. Or 3, they did relay it, and the developers not only chose not to listen to it, but then didn't tell us that they heard that feedback. Like all 3 of those, in all 3 of those cases, This is a fundamentally failed system. They're not telling us that they're hearing things, which feels really bad on our end, and that would probably be like the fundamental reason why some people in the community think that Jay should step down. Verdict, is that kind of like right on the sentiment there? You're nodding your head.
I did nod my head because it's something very important. I'm gonna talk about another game, and it's not gonna be World of Warcraft. Relax. League of Legends is toxic as this. Whatever you feel about that game, actually, the developers and the community managers, or whatever that position would resemble, and Riot Systems, they do actually talk on Reddit. They reply to Reddit posts.
They do. Yeah.
Recently, there was I know it's a little bit of a side topic, but there was a huge scandal with this champion Riven in a post, and the developer literally came through and shut down the person that was making this post. Now, with all honesty, it's not in Korean nature for them to be really blunt, direct. They like to approach a little bit more political. They like to not be a verdict. They don't like that in particular. So it's, in reality, it's a little bit of a, how can I say, they wouldn't go against somebody's word because it's gonna spiral out of control. Opinions are gonna clash. It's gonna look like the comment section of my last video. You do not want to see the comment section of my last video. So in reality, I'm kind of like, we would love to see it, but who would really appreciate it? I think it kind of boils to that.
Yeah, like
Well, I mean, Riot's kind of the all-star company, though. Like, every game they make is a better version of the game they implemented from. So it's kind of hard to be like 5 out of 5 star Riot, best games of every genre versus, every other company out there.
Well,
World of Warcraft for many years listened to their player base, especially when it grew to the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, where they had 12 million subscribers. And listening to the community is what technically killed their game. They listened to the community till it got to a certain point that, a majority of people no longer liked the game, and then they refused to kind of bring it back. And then we got this sort of A team, B team of expansions where A team would do everything right and B team would mess everything up, and then A team would have to come and fix the game again. And it's like the most miserable sort of experience in any MMO I've ever had. It's just so frustrating to have one expansion be really good and the next one just be absolute garbage, and it's really, really frustrating. So it's I hate to say it again, but it's complex.
So I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong about this, I do not know the inner workings of Perlibus, but I have met the CMGM team, and I did talk to the developers at the Calpheon Ball, and from what I understand and what the devs had told me from last year is they choose to interact on the forums, and I'm fairly certain it is company policy that they actually cannot interact on Reddit or other platforms like that, to speak for the company like that. So the CMGM team, I know the CMGM team definitely, we had Delphi on last week, right? Or was it 2 weeks ago?
He's in chat right now. Shut up.
We had Delphi on the podcast last week, and he said the CMGMs definitely read what is on Reddit. They see what's in the Discords. They see their job is to monitor the community, and they do so. But the company policy currently is they can't really do anything about it unless you put it in the forums. They probably aren't even allowed to bring it up in the feedback, whatever feedback meeting or whatever they have every week, right? Does this, I feel like that's the Stone Ages. This is ridiculous. The idea that we're supposed to use the forums for everything is obnoxious and outdated. There is an argument to be said that, if you're going to listen to YouTube and everything, and I saw chat talking about this a little bit, just because a YouTube video has a lot of views doesn't mean it's necessarily the community's opinion. But see, that's why you have to look at the interactions, though. That's why you have to look at the interactions. You need to know the like-dislike ratio on the video, right? You need to see the comment section on the video. Are people agreeing with this, right? What is everybody else talking? When other people talk about the video, are they invested in it? Do they agree with it or do they disagree with it, right? When a video makes waves in the community, you don't just take it at face value. Oh, it got 10,000 views, so it must be great. No, you have to you have to go further. Yeah, you have to look at the community's response to the video and be like, yeah, this is overwhelmingly people are agreeing with this, or no, people are disagreeing with this sentiment. We don't need to listen to this, and the reason that it's got a lot of views is because it's a hot take, right? And there's also an element of this. It's it gives the content creators a good amount of power, but I think there's enough content creators that have enough opinions, and there's always more content creators, and people can always make videos and submit them, right? If a brand new content creator were to make a video on YouTube and send it to my Discord, I would look at it, right, on stream and stuff, and like I would be able to help broadcast that opinion whether I liked it or not. Like I think that whether it be YouTube as a platform, or it be Twitter as a platform, or it be Reddit, if Reddit's a really good platform for it. Sadly, not very many people use Reddit, because our Black Desert Online subreddit is moderated by fedora wearing neckbeards. But like there's a new subreddit for it, which is getting better. It's like r/BDO official. But like, I mean, it's tough, like there's like most of the BDO community has kind of given up on the ability to give feedback to the devs at this point. And I think that like we all feel hopeless. Like if you post something on the forums, it could get 10,000 upvotes. The developers aren't going to say a word about it, whether they heard it or not. Doesn't matter. Like I'm not like, I think that we can kind of rule out them having like a dev talk with us, because like the translation would be obnoxious. But like,
will they have a dev talk with me, Blue? You think? I don't think so.
I don't think they're gonna have a dev talk with any. If they're not gonna have a dev talk with Choice, they're not gonna have a dev talk with any of us.
Well, I mean, that's another thing too, though. Like, do they want to have a dev talk with people that like live on the game, or you're like average player? Like, what is this game's designed for? What's their goal? Are they looking to make the game for a massive amount of people, a massive casual player base to come and enjoy the game, experience a little bit of everything, and then kind of log off? Or are they looking to look at the guy who's clocking in 40 hours a week like it's their second job, really putting in the time and stuff? Like, I don't know if they actually want to cater to that kind of player.
Well, okay, well, what kind of player do you think that... Well, I don't know if they necessarily...
I don't know. Well, that's also a problem. I don't think they've ever released a mission statement either. I've never heard PA be like, hey guys, we're designing the game to hit these goals, hit this mark. We want this to be experienced. It's very much a kind of game for like a casual player to kind of get into and experience a ton of different stuff on a very like sort of like a little bit here, a little node war there. You can do a little RBF here. Here's the AOS. Here's some grinding, and here's some enhancing. Here's some life skills. Like, there's a ton of different stuff. But it feels like a lot of portions of the community kind of like delve into like, okay, 100% of my time is spent like basically grinding and like 5% life skill, and then you get a lot of people that are like 90% PvP and then 5%.
But I think, But I think you just proved your own point wrong there. So like, yeah, no, they don't have a mission statement where they're like, yeah, we cater to this players. This is our exact goal, right? It's because it's a sandbox MMO. They don't choose to listen to any one player. They try to listen to all the players, and then they try to, like, they're trying to just basically like fire at the target, and they're trying to hit everybody's goals.
Yeah.
Like as they go, like they're trying to cater to every single player because it's a sandbox MMO. And as much as that might sound like an inefficient system, I think that's the only way they really can kind of do it, because if they try to cater like, hey, we're gonna make this a PvE game, they're gonna lose, they're gonna tank, like a ton of players. Or hey, we're only gonna make this a PvP game, they're gonna tank the other players. So like, I think the way they're doing it now,
I just feel like they might spread themselves too thin, though. That's the only complication I can see, is like,
that is true.
If they're really trying to cater to every individual portion of the game, they either need to have a bigger team that is putting out more content for each of those individual sectors of the game, which I'm all for. I'm not like, I like PvE. I don't want PvPers to have a bad time. I want there to be more game modes. Like, if this new Arsha system is going to be like, okay, now we're going to get points, and these points can get costumes and cosmetics and all this other stuff, and you can get like, you can turn them in, like if it's like a new red seal from RBF, and if they're going to buff RBF to do all these things, like that's like the next stage I'm looking for. That has to be the next change, though. But the problem, I think, is like the communication of not telling us, like, they're going to do this deck change, which is very controversial between a lot of people, and then they're going to change Arsha, and then like, okay, but like, is there a next step or is there not? And not communicating that to us, I think, puts a lot of doubt in the players, especially because we've seen systems that they start to change and then don't get changed, which is like, again, what reminds me of the Morlin video, where a lot of his criticism of BDO is like, hey, we have this system, and then we're just going to band-aid on top of it, and we're never going to actually address the thing or fix the thing or do the thing. And that's what I'm looking for from PA, is like, let's see the 10 steps, even though we've only got step 1 and 2, so we have a little hope in their system, right?
Jay, you haven't spoken too much on this. How do you, like,
You know,
How do you feel about?
We should have our own dev talk. You know, we should just host our own dev talk. We give out hammers. Everyone's happy. We give out Blue's hammer, Blonde's hammer, Verdict's hammer. 100% chance.
Hammer sounds good, man.
Bro, if they had a dev talk with the if they had a dev talk with the creators, that would be, if they had a dev talk with the creators, that would be the most content I think BDO has ever seen. Mainly because
we would ask. Choice was doing a dev talk.
That'd be wild.
We would ask the questions that they can't dodge. Yeah. That's the problem. Like we would be hit. Norelio would be coming in a hot. Huntler would be coming in a hot on it, bro. There ain't no way they have the balls to do that. There's no way.
Put my video in the back and just ask it all, man. Just let them cook.
Right.
Let them cook, boy.
Okay, so I'm curious. Verdict. Let's say you get it your way. Jae-hee Kim steps down. What would you like the predecessor to do differently?
Oh, dude.
What do you feel like it like either Jay could be doing better in this case, or that his predecessor needs to do?
Okay, I guess it's now is the best time to say, really, on a real note. Making a video that you're gonna pretty much ask somebody to step down. I wouldn't be happy if he did, even though that's exactly because it never feels good to go into somebody's pocket, really, to steal their livelihood. It's not a good feeling, man. But, dude, I would love to see that guy change first and foremost, and kind of give him a little bit of a shock if I can, man. And what I want to happen, however, just dodge Jay as an individual that is affected of this conversation, if we could. First, let's be honest, MMORPGs is for us to play together. I don't need to be going into too much details, but every day I'm in the Discord of my guild in Europe, right? And we talk about playing video and we have fun playing video, but we're not playing together. I think incentivize us to kind of build communities around spending time together in the game rather than just separately and just talk about the game. I think that's a good direction, such as new party grind spots, such as better and more engaging dungeons, such as, I'm not sure if a raid could be on the map, but who knows? I think a MMO is meant for the people to enjoy together, and maybe that's something that we're lacking right now. I believe we are.
Okay. Okay, so if we were gonna have them do one thing better, I mean, for me, it's I want to be heard. I want to make sure that they're not just listening to KR. That's my biggest gripe, is that, like...
Oh, you meant like that? Oh.
Yeah. Like, I want to be heard. Like, if I'm going to see one thing the executive producer do better, I want to see him come out and address the forum posts directly. If you want to keep this forum system, this godforsaken shithole of a forum system, I want you to come up directly. Every time a forum post gets over 250 upvotes, I want you to make a post about it. I want you... Not the CMGM team. No. I want to hear it out of Jay's mouth. I want him to tell me that he heard it and we're not doing it, right?
Or are we heard it or we're looking
at it
in my ear,
right? I want to hear it either out of his mouth or I want to see him fucking tweet it. I'll follow him on Twitter. Like, I want to see.
Does he have a Twitter though? Isn't it anti-policy?
That's how a lot of believe it or not, that's how a lot of dev teams get stuff through to their community. Is they literally just tweet stuff out. I see Riot do it all the time. Yeah. They're like, hey,
I think you're confusing that. I think you're confused. Sorry to cut you. Really sorry to cut you off. I think you're confusing that because of which social media is the biggest in whatever region that the person is from. I don't think Twitter has anything in Korea. They might have some, but I don't think
pick one. Oh, Korea? I don't know about that. I don't know. Facebook, get the fuck out of here.
Facebook.
What is that?
Hey, Facebook's still popping, bro.
Threads?
Shut the up right now. I get the fuck out of here. Yeah, if you think that KR, then fine. Jay can make a YouTube video and post it. That's fine too. Because I know that KR they use social media. They definitely use social media. Like a lot of social media. They're all about it, man. They're like the esports mecca.
Actually, you're right.
Of the world. They use literally all kinds. If anything, they're using more Twitter than the NA community does. But that being said, they need to find a way. Like, I want to see Jay post it. I want to know. He can make a short video. He can post it around. He can post it in the Discord. I don't care. I want to know that he's hearing the voice, right? I want to know that he heard Choice's Reddit post and that they are forum post and that they're looking at it. I want to hear that they heard Johnny Five's post and they have chosen not to listen to it, right? I want to hear that because right now what we get is the CMGM team going,
Say it.
Yeah, we're relaying it. Yeah, it's been relayed. Like,
Say it.
Like, and then it's just crickets. Like, and I trust that they are relaying it. In fairness, I do trust that they are relaying it. I just feel like the developers are just going, yeah, whatever. Okay, sounds good. Like, I want more out of the executive producer. That's what I want.
That's exactly how it feels. Yeah.
Like,
I just
go ahead, Jacob.
I just remembered something. Whenever I'm watching Hugh's stream and he's like reacting to stuff, he's on this like Korean forum post. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? There's this like.
You talking about Inman?
Is it Invent?
Yeah, it's that. It's. I think it's a community driven.
That's like Korean. That's like Korean Reddit, right? Like essentially. It's
I'll get on Invent. You think I
sure.
won't make an account and start fucking posting shit?
That's where a lot of the stuff about Lost Ark information was there for a while and other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should. Is there an English version of Invent, or do we gotta?
It's called Reddit.
It's called Reddit.
It's called naeu.playblackdesert.com/forums/ you're never getting heard.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
I think that is the thing. Even if they're not gonna do anything on our feedback, letting the heard part is, I think, essentially the most important thing, because if their goal for the game or their direction or whatnot is not what I'm intending or what someone else is intending, that's fine. I don't have a problem with them not necessarily listening to my feedback and going in that direction. I just need to know that, like, hey guys, we looked at all this stuff. We don't really necessarily agree with it. We're going to kind of keep doing our thing, and we appreciate you guys taking the time to put that information out there, but that's not what we're looking for, Yeah.
Oh, I agree. So overall, I think the community is relatively unhappy. I think that, honestly, where do you guys feel this unrest kind of comes from? Like, I feel like it comes from the fact that, the crossplay tournament happens, and for us over in North America, we were all just like, idiots.
Yeah,
First time, right? Like we just didn't care.
Literally.
We didn't care. Yeah, we were LOL. But then,
perfect.
But then the developers turn around and they're like, we are hearing you. We're working on the lag immediately. You know what I mean? And
I was like, what?
Wait, back up.
Exactly.
What? I think that's what made people so upset, is that, like, the second that they complain about it, it's bro, we're gonna change PvE. The buffs are coming out. We're gonna change the lag. We're gonna fix it, boys. Like, here's all these changes you've been asking for. Like, AOS is gonna be permanent now. We're like, wait, what, dude?
We're reducing the card costs. Wait, what?
We need to get some Koreans to move to NA, pretend they're still playing on KR, and just have our lag issues and get them posted. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, we didn't. Oh, this is such a problem."
I know. Like it's
the audacity behind this. Sorry, this crap. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think that's I think that's the biggest reason that people kind of had a big outburst on it. But, like, is there anything else that is kind of feeding into it, or is it that's just kind of like the icing on the cake here?
I think for a long time, people have been providing feedback since the dawn of BDO, right? I don't think necessarily that PvE players are really upset, or even like life skillers are really upset. I think that PvE players want some changes that are good for the game, and life skillers want some changes that are good for the game. But I don't think any of them are like as upset to like an insane degree that's going to like make them quit the game or make them post a lot of stuff. I think most people get out their grievances, they post something up, and then they're like, okay, like I'll just keep moving on, do whatever. But I think that the PvP community definitely has always been the one that they feel like they've been lacking on every single time. I always hear it, but it's kind of tough too, because I hear so many different types of people with so many different types of PvP feedback, that side of the community, it's always so tough to kind of gauge again what's
a complex conversation, right?
It's a complex conversation.
Hashtag dodge. Like
it is, but it's also hard to change, because like they have to have their own developers that have their distinct vision for their each. Like, they've got to have like a head of each individual class with a team working on each class, that then have to somehow figure out how that's going to work in the total game of everything, and then someone looking at the total game of everything, and then also trying to give changes and things. And maybe the game is exactly what they want it to be in their vision, but like, the problem is, again, without them saying like, hey guys, like, everything's working how we want it to be, like, we don't know, so we're going to keep feeding back until it feels right for us. And I think that this is one of those things that kind of like, there was already kind of a big pile of wood sitting there, and this was kind of the match onto all the kerosene on there that's been kind of living there for a little while.
Yeah.
They've really kind of lit up everybody real quick.
I think it's super, super, super important for everybody to hear something just something along the lines of Black Desert Online, for whatever reason, is incredibly feedback oriented, more than any other game, at least I've ever noticed. When I go into World of Warcraft streams, for an example, and then you look at them, people are playing the game, talking on WoW topics, and it usually is not feedback oriented. It's usually like, oh, if they do this, if they do that. I think a lot of this stems from how much information based kind of how necessary information is in Black Desert Online, and it kind of stems out from the only content worthy of longevity is guides, something very Black Desert-y. And kind of how you resolve this, because if you really think about it, an engaged community playing the game is probably will be one not giving that much feedback, or at least keep the small things that we bicker about out of the question. I'm not sure. What do you guys think about that? It's just
That's true.
So interesting.
I played a bunch of different MMOs. I've been on WoW Reddit. I played Lost Ark. I've played Arcage. All of their Reddits or all of their socials are always like cool pictures of the game or this or that or neat stuff. It's actually not a lot of feedback about the game. But I don't know if that's specifically because BDO is so charged to give feedback, because they're like, oh, just like 1% change and like this game could be amazing, or what. I mean, I do see that there are some posts sometimes for different MMOs in their Reddits and stuff, or like they ask for changes or this or that. But yeah, BDO has definitely seemed way more that like everybody has some sort of feedback that they're always posting about and they're always unsatisfied with compared to other MMOs. I don't necessarily know how to I don't know if it's a community specific thing or just that the game is so close to greatness that, you know, it just needs that little push in a lot of people's eyes. I think that's why people are so passionate about feedback, though, is because this game is really good and has the potential to be probably one of the best MMOs ever, especially built on the combat style they have. And I think a lot of players are just sad to see it not reach its full potential, to be honest. I think that's where a lot of that veracity comes from.
Yeah. Speaking of that, a big problem with the game for a long time was guides. And they just said recently that they're going to introduce some new player like tutorial guides, like a bunch of them for different systems in the game. Let's talk about how devastating this is going to be for Chris Pauly's career in general. Jay, how do you feel about them coming out with some new player guide tutorials?
I mean, I think it's a good thing. Actually, I had a new there's a new player that you know Permadeath. He's a new player and to BDO, and he was actually just talking, like I was hanging out in his streams after my stream, and he would always be talking about how they don't tell us how to do this certain things, or and he wished that there was more things that you could basically tell them how to play the game, right? Because you have to like go into third-party sources and third-party websites to be able to figure out, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, that's how you do this. His brother actually just started the game as well, and he was trying to make beer, right? And you know how he was trying to make beer? He was doing simple cooking. He had to use a cooking tool to do it until his brother told him. And so
I did the same thing when I started 7 years ago. It's stunning to me that is still a problem 7 years later. Like, wow, that's mind blowing. But like, yeah, well, I mean, honestly, it kind of depends on how the tutorials are. Like, bro, in the past, their guides, like, we're going to show you how to do this, is we're going to make this meaningless required quest that you're going to spam R to get through. And then you're going to know how to do it. Right? Like, it's
unskippable cutscene on how to make beer. That's what we need.
Well, no, one, why the f is he making beer? This is already a mistake. God, like, lift the flap, pull your dick out of the VCR. You've messed up. Bro, he needs to be making grilled bird meat. There's no reason to be making...
Well, hold on. There's some quests that require you to make beer. There's some quest lines that you gotta make it. It's very annoying.
Yeah, there's quest lines. Yeah, sure. Yeah, whatever. But, like, beer should not... There's players that are still feeding their workers beer, is my point.
Listen,
the game still recommends that you feed... Hey, your workers drink beer. They're like, oh, okay. Like, oh my goodness.
I like drunk workers over chicken workers.
Hot one, man. What the
Listen,
hell?
I'm just saying. I feed them beer to keep them happy.
I have both. You have chicken and beer. This sounds like a good meal.
On the topic of guides, so it's really important what type of guides they are, and I want these guys to stay away ever again from giving a class guide. Something that really popped to mind as you guys were talking about these guides of how they will be making videos and this and that. First, I think that kind of a little bit combats with the content creators in a way. Why, like, just can't you, I don't know, give a little bit of an incentive to a famous content creator like Chris Pauly and tell them, hey, Chris Pauly, we have an idea. We want to teach the players this. How about you make the video instead of us, and we'll share it from you, something like this. Or maybe stay away from making guides on classes, because when Awakening Mego got released, the combo which they linked as a sample example combo didn't Spirit Force. And that's a Mego mechanic. It didn't work. It simply did not work. It's insane.
They have
Depends on who.
It is a good suggestion to have the content creators make the guides. That's a good suggestion. But they have done this before. I wrote the Node War guide that they have on their channel. Like the Black Desert Node War handbook. There's like 4 steps. So I wrote the first step, and then there's like, I think they had I'm not sure. They had a couple EU creators make the next 2 steps, and then they had somebody.
That's awesome.
I think I finished out the last one too. But like, that's really cool. I would love to see them do that. Like, I would totally make more guides like that. That would be super sick.
In a heartbeat. It's what we exist for. Let's be honest, content creators, the majority of what we do is teach. Literally, that's probably 90% of it. It's like not a single minute passes without you giving an advice to somebody. It's in the essence of MMOs. It goes back to the feedback, what I said in Blonde Bear earlier. It really is kind of the nature of the game in a way. So incentivize the people already doing it, and don't battle for views with your content creators. Like, what?
Oh, content creators are always going to be battling for views. Such is the nature of...
I mean, it's possible they could be reaching out to do that in the finalization periods of it. Maybe. I mean,
they could. I'm actually more concerned that their new player guides are just not going to be
not good.
Great. Yeah, like...
Yeah, it's kind of complex. I mean, there's so much like passive knowledge. BDO is one of those games where it's unlike any other MMO. Playing this game for the first time is such a brain, like cracking your brain opening and learning so much stuff. The way that the knowledge system, the way you learn everything, I think that they really, honestly, would just have to have someone like picked up off the street, put them on the game, have them play it, and every single time they have a question or a stopping point to just basically write it down. There's an infinite amount of questions you could ask to make a guide about this kind of game, so I'm curious to see how it's going to work out. Yeah. But it's really important to do these things.
Blue makes actually a witch guide.
I did make... I have a witch guide! Bros, dude, I just got Humegalol. I have an Awakening and a Succession one.
Oh, you do?
Hold on. Let me finish. Imagine that Pearl Abyss asked you to make this. It doesn't matter. Like, here's the thing: if you're, for example, a representative of a class like I am, like Blonde with Berserker and stuff like that, take it at a something like a little bit of feedback. Probably you'll get a lot of hate in the comments because people perhaps just don't like your face or something like that.
That happens all the time. Because it's usually the top of my head, but yeah, the face is in there sometimes.
I'm glad I'm glad you pointed it out. But there was a thing in Lost Ark happening. They hired this guy Zeal something to do a video for the main channel. Comment section went well. They just don't like the dude, for example. So I think it could backfire in a way. So maybe that's why they want to do it themselves. Weird.
Yeah. Zeal's is controversial.
Who's Zeal's?
Zeal's is
I have a story, man.
So when Lost Ark kind of came up, you had 2 pretty much big content creators who kind of shot up. I mean, Stoops is already there because he's like the NA guy, right? Okay. But you had Saint One, who was a huge Lost Ark player, and you had Zeals. And Zeals was just like he's like your ideally huge Omega Lol whale. He's like your oh dear, that guy.
He's the guy that makes it like so that the rest of us can be free to play.
Yeah.
Is he the king of hot takes too, or is it just the fact that he's a whale?
He pays the office rent, dude. Like, it's kind of...
Okay.
Apparently.
So people just don't like him because he's a whale? Okay.
No, I don't. No, it's not like that.
Actually, it's not necessarily because that. It's he has some, I guess, controversial ways of saying things. I don't know.
So
Can you give an example?
hear me out on this one. So you go into I go into a chat when I was taking a break from Black Desert Online for a month, and I go into the chat and I'm trying to play this class, whatever, and I just get into stream. He says something like some line, whatever, and ask in the chat, "Is this good?" Like this class. I think it was what was that girl? Big gauntlets, blonde bear. Fill me up on this one. Not really sure. Scrapper.
Oh yeah, Scrapper. Yeah.
Scrapper. And and he literally goes in an unhinged rant because I asked him the question. He has a snappy attitude. It's like he doesn't read. He takes things out of context. I guess it's for the lulz, but the community doesn't.
Hey, it's
get
content, right? It's content.
It's content. Yeah, it's like Blue reacting to your guide, pausing it every 4 seconds. Yeah. Content, indeed it is.
That is content. I'm catching
That is
strays right
content,
now.
yes, it
I'm
is.
catching
Yeah,
splash
it
damage
is.
right now from a mystic. How ironic.
Oh.
Listen. Okay, I'm not gonna go into this.
Demolished.
I'm not gonna go into this, Blue. I'm a guest. I will not spit in your house.
You just Blue. I will not spin on you. I'm Blue. I won't do that. I'm a guest. All right. We are out of time for the podcast this week, so why don't we go around? Let's do outros first. I'll start with J-Kun.
Oh god. Hi, I'm J-Kun. I do a lot of endgame PvE content such as Olin's the Dungeons. I'm always happy to welcome new players and answer questions about the game. You can find me over at twitch.tv/JKunVTV before the T.
Yeah, right on. Okay, yeah, he always nails that outro. First try every time.
First try.
And Blonde Bear?
Hi, you can catch me at twitch.tv/blondebear. I like to play BDO and I like to grind. I'm
Likes to party.
8 out of 9 of the Elviite and 4 out of 5 of the Merchant Ring, and that'll probably be forever. So catch me in Odolita.
Telescope.
Whoa, I got the telescope.
That was disparage right there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's done.
All right,
so.
right on.
It's-
Okay. Yeah, that's the easy one. You're good. Yeah. Back to work, as it were. And our boy Verdict over here.
You can find me on YouTube at Verdict Loves You. That's the tag of the channel. And on Twitch, Verdict BDO. I'm mostly known for my Mystic content, Mystic guides. That's like probably 70 or 80% of everything that I've done on my YouTube and on Twitch. Even though I do Awakening Megu now. If you guys have any questions, Mystic, all of it, literally all of it, I'm your dude. And yeah, looking forward to see it.
Right on. Okay, and I am Blue Squadron. There's always stuff happening on this channel. For example, right now we have a subathon that is never going to end. And we also have, we're going to be shot calling right after this here. So I'm going to be shot calling next, the big 3v3. Everybody loves to watch me scream at degenerates online. But like there's always something going on my YouTube as well. There's 2 new YouTube videos every single day. And then the Discord is super active as well. So make sure you check out my Discord as well. From all of us here. Oh yeah, by the way, the Old Moon podcast is on Spotify. It is on Apple Podcasts, so you guys can listen to it in the car on your way to work and stuff in the morning. It is always posted there, so make sure you guys check us out over there. From all of us here at the Old Moon Podcast, have a great rest of your week.